Conference tournament week is a really weird week in the sports calendar. Some fans are all the way in, and others, especially recently, aren't as engaged as it feels like a roadblock separating them from March Madness. I wanted to capture the overall feel the best that I could, and hopefully come to some conclusions. Are conference tournaments worth taking the time and money to make a trip for? Does the hype for the mid-major tournaments on TV translate in real life? What conference has the best tournament? We went to 5 different conferences, with the stakes of each game or the size of each program getting bigger every time. I'm G-Fed. This is one of many stadium adventures on this page. Please like, comment, and subscribe to help us get to the next one, and let's get into it. We actually started this by going to 3 regular season games in one day here. Partially because I didn't decide on the title of the video before making it. Also, home sites beat neutral sites 99 times out of 100, so I wanted to sprinkle a few into benchmark this week. We began our journey in Manhattan, which to my surprise is in the northern part of the Bronx, which is also to my surprise an hour and 15 minutes away from where I stayed in Manhattan. This took us to Draddy Gymnasium, a funny name for a gym that exceeded expectations considering we were watching 2 average to bad MAAC teams play their last game of the year. So we got our student section of probably like 20-30 people right here, band right next to them right here, home side right here, and we are on the roadside right over here. I have to give some credit though. I don't see pull-up bleachers too often that have all seat backs. I've sat in worse spots for bigger arenas for sure. I love the school's mascots. They're just a guy. Who is he? Why is he important? For the gym being under a roof way bigger than the court needed, it was still really tight around there, and we did concession reviews at every spot that this place got a failing grade. It is 2:30 p.m. This is the first thing I ate all day, and I wish I waited until the next game to not waste my appetite on this. This is one of the worst concession setups I've ever been to. The bar is on the floor. Seeing 3 games in a day, we couldn't watch a full game at every location, so we just cut our losses and left at halftime. This took us just a little bit more north to New Rochelle to see Iona. Already improving on the day, Heinz Gymnasium is a significant step above Draddy. It was also an even better crowd than Manhattan for a pretty comparable caliber of game. Other positives, best game of the day, actually best game of the week going down to the last possession, and I got this cool Iona koozie that looks like a winter jacket just for buying a $3 beer. Not sponsored, but shout out Puffin. I love this thing. New favorite koozie. Negatives, this place doesn't really have a concourse, something I've never seen before. There's only one spot to get into the gym that you have to go through a massive bottleneck to go through, and to get concessions, you have to go out of it down a flight of stairs. I'm all for being on top of the action, but I could do without that. One chance to win. Let's see it. This is an absolute mess getting out of here. Just like that, once I get weave past these people, we gone. If you can't dodge traffic, you can't dodge a ball. Lastly, we went all the way up to Connecticut to see Fairfield's gym. The main reason I even included this day in the video is to talk about this gym because I'm telling you, it is the best gym that you probably didn't know existed. Or maybe I just didn't know it existed and I'm out of the loop. I don't know. Oh, this is gorgeous. I love this. This is one of the best mid-major gyms I've ever seen. I love so much that this place has a 4-row upper deck. It's not necessary, but those are little things that make your gym from good to great. I cannot believe this place is in the same conference as everywhere we've been so far. Look at this spread too. Who's getting all of this at an MAAC game? There's gyms in the country that are as good as this, but I don't think there's any that are better. Pound for pound, this place is perfect. We also got in touch with some staff here to get some extra exposure. And before you say it, we didn't get in contact to be an ad. This is not sponsored. This gym is actually that good. Get up! Get up! Yeah! We're about to go 3-0 on the day, baby. I really like how the gyms that we went to went from okay to good to perfect as well. Pretty solid build over the conference tournaments, which will take us to the CAA quarterfinals. Let's see if this is worth it at Care First Arena. This is our first time here, and it is the home of the Washington Mystics in the WNBA. This is an expensive ticket, low-key.
26-32. I was expecting like $10.
I was really excited to see my first mid-major conference tourney. The stakes are high for everybody. It gets all gassed up on TV. This one, though, this was not worth the hassle to me at all. The arena was in a bad part of town, and the gym itself was just kind of a weird venue that felt incomplete. Maybe it's just a me problem with how much that I film, but any arena I can't take a full lap around is a thumbs down for me. Concessions were also really expensive, which stinks when you're buying tickets for a 5-hour session. And the crowd for each of the 3 games I went to was between 25 and 50% full on a 4,200 seat arena. The cool thing I gotta do though is I gotta meet up with a bunch of creators I like, whether they're there already or I made them go to talk about college basketball.
We got you to go to your first college basketball game of the entire year.
Woo!
I need one take right now. What you got?
Ace Bailey, Legacy Tournament incoming. They literally win the championship. He cements himself as the 3rd best player in the class.
For my money, the DC area has more sports content creators than anywhere in the country. I don't know why that is, but it's a thing. Next, I was going to go to the Horizon League semifinals, but after the CAA quarters was a little bit disappointing, I took one extra day and just went straight for the championship, which was on the Indiana State Fairgrounds of all places. But contrary to CAA, I thought the setup was actually really, really cool. The Horizon League had a bunch of space to do whatever they wanted with it. There's an indoor track championship going on next door. In the loosest way possible, it kind of felt like the Cotton Bowl setup down in Texas.
Hey, whoa, I gotta have
Now we inside.
The arena itself was interesting. It seemed like it was more purpose for livestock shows than basketball, but it was pretty big, about the same size as a lot of power conference basketball arenas, and it was nicer than I expected it to be too. But like the CAAs, even for the championship, it didn't really fill up at all. The women's championship actually had a better turnout than the men's championship because 90% of their crowd was classes going on field trips.
Just in my seat review, the adult to kid ratio in here is legitimately 1 to 10. I mean, just looking around me. This is the only section I can sit in somewhat close to the game without being in a section of elementary school kids. And just being in an arena not built for basketball, we're pretty freaking far away. The t-shirt toss have been deafening. It's just that teachers shoot for a pizza party that kids are screaming about too. Love growing the game. It's probably not my day to be a part of it. The amount of kids just dead sprinting through here is insane.
Yes, it was really awkward being there as a grown man by myself. And yes, the liquor bar did not make one sale that afternoon. After the women's championship ended to a very light crowd because most of the kids left at halftime, we waited for about 5 hours and then went to the men's championship, which had a turnout of like probably 1,500 people. Now going 0 for 2, getting really any kind of buzz at a conference tournament, this is when I started questioning if these trips were worth it. This game was between Robert Morris and Cleveland State, 2 schools that aren't particularly close to Indianapolis, so there was some stuff working against it. But also, unlike the women's game, this is after work hours. We're in one of the best college basketball cities in the entire country. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was more than what I got. Wrapping up the evening, we got kicked off the property for my track record of videos, but we just shrugged that off, went back to Chicago for a few days to rest up, then went down to Nashville for the SEC semifinals. I'm pretty convinced this arena just has PTSD from creators after Mantis tried to check into a literal D1 basketball game in the arena on their watch.
We just woke up at 4:30 in the morning, and we're still running a little bit late for this game. Think we would have made it easily, but getting pooped on by rain halfway down did not help. All obstacles aside though, I think we got like a 50-50 shot to make it in here by tip. And these games are all in one session, so we're gonna watch 4 of the top 8 teams in the country play back-to-back for like 5 hours straight. Kind of wish they started later and we're a little bit more separated, but we ended up paying like $160 to watch these teams. Overall, not that bad of a bargain, especially considering one Auburn game at Neville alone is like $300 get in. That is a beauty. Let's go. This is our second time at Bridgestone Arena. First time for a basketball game though. As you can clearly see, home of the Predators, hockey arena first. Maybe even concert venue first for how much they do that in Nashville. But nonetheless, excited to see how we're gonna rig this up for basketball. I think we just tipped off from what I'm hearing. Let's check to be sure. Oh, we just missed it.
Of the conference tournaments that I went to, the SEC had the best environment, but it was still just okay. I think the big problem for this event is how the SEC structured their tickets. It was one ticket to both semifinal games, meaning at no point was the entire crowd invested in the result of the game going on. And that kind of frustrated me because we had 4 really good fan bases in there for 4 really, really good teams. I'm pretty confident if the SEC sold tickets for 2 separate games, they would have sold out both of them and had better environments for both of them too.
Kind of crazy this game just ended and Alabama's already out here instantly. Like this game ended not even a minute ago. Reading this clock though, we got 22 minutes, maybe. I think it's time for the concession tour. They have this little Jack Daniels setup right here. Not too bad. I think we got barbecue right up here too. Great fit, my guy. This has to be the worst giveaway item at a game, right? I'm throwing hands if someone wins this in front of me. Thank you. What the hell's going on here? I think I missed this area last time I was at Bridgestone. In-arena fish tanks are always great. Not seeing too many fish though. The Preds are the 7th man, huh? We just found out the Sacramento Kings are the 6th man a couple months ago. All of these extra men to represent the fans is coming out of the woodworks, I swear. There's only 2. It's the Seahawks and Texas A&M. What are we doing? I love peeping conference tournament merch lines and seeing what they all printed up. Who's buying a South Carolina SEC tournament shirt? Yeah, after winning 2 conference games, let's just make sure we commemorate this season here. And on that, we wasted all of our time without getting any food. The lines were long anyways. We're gonna go watch Alabama, Florida.
Speaking of running into creators that we've done at every stop this entire trip, we also got to sit front row for Florida, Alabama. This was 100% because of Nick Bateman, who let me take advantage of his brand deal that I didn't earn. So shout out to him. That's a good change of pace.
While you're here, I need one team below a 5 seed that can make a Final Four run.
Yeah, I think there are a lot, but I have a Drake future to make the Final Four. It's like plus 9,000, so that's my answer. Drake Bulldogs. It's going to be a Loyola Chicago run. It's going to be awesome. Lock in.
It's always great having people on here that know more ball than me.
A couple more takeaways. Bridgestone Arena was a pretty interesting spot for a basketball game. You can even kind of see it in the arena, how the shoe of it's a little bit separated from the rest, which probably makes it easier for changeovers to set a stage up. But despite dimensions not being built for basketball, it was overall a pretty good viewing experience as long as you weren't on the baseline seats that were very, very far removed from the baseline. After 2 barn burners in Nashville, that took us to our very last game of the week. Completing 1,700 miles of travel, on top of 800 miles of travel to get us to New York in the first place, we make it back to Indy for the Big Ten Championship. Like the Horizon League, we kind of got screwed with the biggest draws in Indianapolis not making the championship. But even then, the energy in the building this afternoon was just not there at all. This game being horrible for like 75% of it might have played a factor. But the biggest factor to me is the Big Ten every year continuing to insist on this game being right before Selection Sunday, making it completely meaningless outside of the pride in winning a Big Ten tournament. It kind of just felt like everyone's just kind of waiting to get through this game to find out where they're seated. And that's a shame because Indianapolis is a great setup for the Big Ten tournament. This is the only conference tournament I've been to more than one time, and it is objectively a better setup than Chicago. But until these conferences change anything up, I just don't see these tourneys, especially in person, picking up that much juice. And before we get to our conclusion, I was also police escorted out of this arena too. Shout out to Indy for all the love.
Game. Conveniently, as this game's ending, we have 2 cops that just pulled up right outside our section. Right there. You see them? I haven't seen them in any other section.
Wanted.
I'm not going to say that for me, but we'll find out when the game ends, I guess.
I'll say it. It's for him.
He thinks so. See you guys. Have a good one. Take care. I told y'all it's real.
So to answer our question, is making the trip to college basketball conference tournament games worth it? If you've been picking up what I'm putting down, you probably already know the answer. Generally speaking, I think the money spent on a conference tournament trip would be better spent out of your sports budget going to something else. Once again, this is in general. I've heard great things about the Big East Conference tournament, and it looked like that SoCon final was fantastic. Even a 4-conference sample size is not big enough for an objective stance here. But if I had to rate my 5 experiences, the MAAC regular season games was legitimately better than every conference tournament I went to. This was something I was not expecting at all going in, even as a home venue over everything truther. With really the mid-major conferences being the most disappointing to me. The hype of watching these games on TV, in most cases in person, does not translate at all. It is partially on me. I think I set my expectations too high for how many people would make a trip to a mid-major conference tournament final on a weeknight. But these tourneys ending on weeknights also speaks towards it being a made-for-TV thing. And for the power conference tourneys, that more so met my expectations, maybe disappointed a little bit. But I think people are going to really sour on these over the next couple of years. And it's mostly, just like a lot of things, because of conference realignment. Bigger conferences means more teams with less to gain and a harder road for the teams that actually do have something to gain. If they can even make the tournament, cutting teams from their own conference tournament should have been clue enough that these conferences are getting too big for stuff like this. The dream of a high major team playing their way into the NCAA tournament through their conference tournament is slowly becoming deceased. And just taking my neutrality and all of this aside, speaking as a Big Ten fan that has seen the amount of teams that my team will play twice in a season go from 8 to 3 over the last decade, I am less familiar with my conference foes than I've ever been, and I'm starting to think that we'd be better off finding that familiarity playing at home arenas than going to this conference tournament that people are only going to lose interest in the current structure. Thanks again for watching. We got some more videos to check out either right here or right here. I don't really know, but nonetheless, like, comment, sub. Let me know where we should go next. And of course, appreciate y'all.